The Stage Door Show, celebrating the independent artist. With your host, Dave Hondel.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Stage Door Show. This is Dave Hondel. A lot of fun tonight in this show. We have with us retired stuntman from Hollywood, Preston Corbell, with us. So we're going to get into a lot of the work that he's done. He's been in almost everything that you've seen at some point in his career. So we're going to get into that and other things. So let's bring him in right now. So Preston, welcome to the show.
What's up, Dave? And what up to your audience? I'm so glad to be here. I've really been looking forward to this show. So thanks for having me.
Yes, absolutely. We've been looking forward to it too. So thank you for taking the time. I got to say this right off the jump here, because before I started, filming music videos, I got into extra work when they were doing a lot of filming in my hometown of Minneapolis way back when. And I was an extra on Mighty Ducks 3. And I got to tell you that when I was doing that work, the funnest time I had was hanging out with the stunt performers. I mean, they're just a different breed. So when you talk about that, because there's got to be, it seemed to me like there was a real brotherhood there with the stunt performers, and I just had such a great time hanging out. So talk about that.
No, for sure. And Mighty Ducks is pretty awesome. I'm a little jealous of that one. But no, stunts, you do often work with the same group of people in the same family. There's not a lot of us, so we kind of stick together. I got to start my career in a town called Wilmington, North Carolina. So it's a small little southern town. That's where we filmed One Tree Hill, which I was able to do for many seasons and really launched my career. But I got to do a lot of stuff that came to the studio, and that was a Screen Gem studio. So a lot of projects that came in there I was able to do, and I ended up doing Eastbound and Down and doubling Kenny Powers for multiple seasons along with Lucas Scott on One Tree Hill. So I got to do a lot of that, and the stunt crew and a lot of the same crew on the shows came over and did each project. So we kind of did one, and then later on in the year did the other. So it was really a tight-knit group, and I was able to kind of move down to Atlanta. And with Atlanta was really blowing up. Yeah. I mean, you're definitely with a small group of people. So, but I mean, that's what makes it fun. And we're doing some dangerous stuff. So that's what makes it safe. You can trust people. Right.
I was going to talk about that, because I one of the things that I noticed while I was on the set was the precision that, each stunt required. And if you don't have that precise movement, I guess, or what your choreography, not only yourself can get hurt, but, your fellow stunt performer can get hurt as well. So talk about the time commitment that it takes to work with each other and really choreograph each particular scene, because I would imagine that it takes hours to do that.
So that's a great point. And it's kind of multifaceted answer. Later in my career, I did some DC and Marvel stuff. Did The Punisher and Daredevil for Marvel, the TV show. And, that's different because you're doing a lot of wire work. There's a lot of choreography. There's a lot of fight scenes and stuff like that. Earlier in my career, I was doing One Tree Hill when we were driving cars off bridges and getting set on fire and getting hit by cars, which is more practical stunts. So it's not a lot of choreography, but there's a lot of, if you get hit by a car, you know how to do it each time. But I think when you were talking about, just getting together and learning the choreography and learning how to do it safely, I think a lot of people always ask me, what kind of adrenaline junkie are you? And they always think stunt people are adrenaline junkies. And we have to be precise. Like you were saying, you have to have that precision. So we don't want to get hurt. So we're not adrenaline junkies. And when we're about to jump off a building and get hit by a car, we're not shaky. We're not ready to, we're not all buzzing like an adrenaline junkie. We're really calm, and we're trying to not get hurt, because that's how we make a paycheck tomorrow, is to not get hurt. And we're really just going through the method of, if something goes wrong, how do we correct it and how do we get through it? So there's definitely precision and almost a mathematical approach. You need to get in there, do your job, get out, and if you can not get injured, that is the name of the game.
And talk about getting injured, because I would imagine that, that's just like an athlete, has to sit out for a while, rehabilitate and so forth, and when you're not working, I mean, that's got to be tough. So it's even that much more important to have your body ready to take the hits and whatever else that comes along with doing stunts. So is that the case? And have you ever had a situation where that it sidelined you for a big amount of time?
I think when I was younger, basketball was my life. So I really wanted to just play college basketball. And I ruptured my Achilles going into, I was going to play for San Diego State. So I ruptured my Achilles, and that kind of ended that basketball, and I kind of transitioned to stunts, and I was able to do some basketball on One Tree Hill. So I was able to live out my high school dreams playing again for One Tree Hill. It's a two-time high schooler there. But I think when you're dealing with injuries, you have to have that mindset of you have to, whatever hurts, you need to treat it. But we also have to work. We don't get the luxury of getting injured and then you can just, recoup and not work. So we got to work through pain constantly. Yeah. So I think when I'm, especially in my older age, or when I was older, when I was still doing stunts, you assess what hurts, you treat that today, and you just move forward. But a huge thing that I find that really happens with a lot of athletes is overcompensation. If I mess up my knee, my left knee, I'm naturally going to put more weight on my right knee. And then you're going to have just a trickle effect of injuries because you're overcompensating, then you're ruining your body all over. So mentally, we got to not have that overcompensation, kind of assess what we're going, but we're always through pain. So we're always working through it, and you don't want to take painkillers. You don't want to take any of that. You just want to work through the pain and move on and find the peace and fun and all the cool stuff we get to do on film, and just focus on that. But we're always in pain, man.
Yeah, I mean, I would imagine that would be the case, And also, I wanted to know about the audition process. And a lot of our listeners go to auditions all the time, and I just didn't know what an audition, for a stunt performer would be like. So. Is that the case for your audition, or is it like you said, they know who the stunt people are out there and they just go find you, or is it something that you still have to audition for?
So it's kind of pay your dues. I mean, being a full-time stuntman is really hard to make a complete like get paid enough to make a complete living doing just stunts. So if I'm not doing stunts, I am doing stand-in work, I'm doing body double work, and I'm doing stunt work, and I'm doing it all there, just to make a living, to be able to do all that stuff. And naturally, you pay your dues. You get to learn. You get to learn the crew members. You get to know the cast members, and kind of rolls, and you kind of are able to get more roles the more you go along. But auditioning for just a stunt, I would suggest, if someone was interested in stunts, to get really good at one thing, whatever that one thing is, whether it's martial arts, basketball, whatever you're really good at, stick to that and be the best person you can possibly be at that. And then once you're really good at that, then that's your entry, because stunts, they have if you're a good martial artist, and you can have that foot in the door with doing that, and the rest of it's going to come along because you're going to meet people. Yeah. But a lot of people with stunts, they take work that isn't great work, or they work with people that isn't, or are not safe. Yeah. Or projects that you're not going to be happy with in 10 years. So, be safe with stunts, obviously, but you want to do it with, safety around you, but just be safe and just be really good at one thing.
And also you kind of hit on something there that I wanted to kind of expand on. And we talk about this a lot, but talk about networking and building partnerships and I guess being on the set with, so many different people, talk about the importance of being a professional, I guess, on set.
Well, if you're pissing off the wrong person there, if that person's got a lot of leverage, you're not working again. So, and that's a lot with the business world too, but you definitely want to be, you want to be very professional, but a lot of stuntmen, at least me, you're kind of in your own corner. You're focused on what that stunt is. You're focused on, I need to get in and out and do this perfectly. You're not into all that mess of talking and gossiping and in between scenes and kind of, just doing whatever you want to do. So I would say you're definitely just in your mindset. You're in your zone. But yeah. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I saw that you did work on Reno 911, and I got to tell you, Reno 911 is my all-time favorite show. I love that show. Talk about doing work on that, and how was that experience?
So Reno 911, I did originally, so a long time ago, 04 to 06.
Oh, wow.
The original Reno 911, so that was the cool part. Filmed in California, and really just fun. Kind of worked with a lot of those people before they became famous later on. And it was in that Comedy Central family. I did a character that was called the Adrenaline Junkie, and I was able to kind of fit that in later projects with Reno 911 as well. Definitely fun, a very fun set to be on. Everyone was always lively.
At being a stuntman and doing the choreography, I mean, when you take a job, did they kind of let you know ahead of time what the stunts are going to be, or do you kind of learn after you get the job, then they say, okay, well, this is what you're going to be doing? I mean, how quickly into the process do you know what you're going to be doing?
That's a great question. So if you're going into a movie, you're definitely going to they're going to look for very specific people because they know the movie ahead of time. They know what they need to do. So very specific stuntman and what they're talented in that area. If you're doing a TV show, depending on the show, you're going to have a lot of stuff. When I did One Tree Hill, you're going to have cars going off bridges. You're going to have to be set on fire. You're going to be hit by a car. You're going to have to be jumping off buildings. There's a lot of stuff thrown at you. But, when you do it once, you do it twice, and it's kind of like, okay, this is what we're doing today. And we just learned we're doing it today, but we already know how to do it and we can get in and out. So it's really quick. But if you're doing stuff like Marvel stuff, you're going to be expected. They're going to really focus on fighters, and they're really going to focus on martial artists and, people that can really work with wires and that kind of stuff. So movies, I would say you definitely know what you're getting into. TV shows, they can throw some crazy stuff at you. So you just don't know.
Well, it's funny because you should say that, because on Mighty Ducks 3, it was actually, an all-day shoot. It was just one scene, but they did I think the same scene like 21 times, because it just wasn't done the way they wanted it to be done, and they changed different camera angles, and some of the stunt performers, they actually threw some, like you said, some stunts at them, like they had to jump over a moving car. They were like, okay, is this considered a stunt, because then I get paid this much versus this much, and I was all part of that conversation. It was funny to still be part of that, but yeah, they threw all kinds of stuff with them just in that one day, so that's crazy. What's the most harrowing stunt that you ever had to do?
I think, I love a car scene where it was, over a bridge, and that was really cool. But I think the thing, and getting hit by a car is always fun, because it's always, right when you get hit by a car, you got to know exactly when to roll off the hood, and how fast that car is going, and the technical aspects of that. But I think getting set on fire has always been my favorite. But the process of getting set on fire is like an hour of getting the gel on the suits, and then it's right before you go in, you get gel on the suit, and you're so freaking cold. It's whatever that gel is, but you're like so cold. You are ready to get set on fire, to warm up. And being in the process of getting set on fire is not very long. You have the best safety crew around you and stuff, but I don't know, just that moment of doing it's really kind of crazy. I love it.
Oh my God. Well, take me back to what you said before, when you said you were in a car going over a bridge. So were you in the car when it went over the bridge, and where did it land? How did that, what was that about?
There was a limousine in a show I did, and it went over the bridge. So that scene was interesting, because you obviously have one limousine and you have one bridge you're going to break through, and that's it. So we have a lot of cameras set up at every angle. You got cameras everywhere, because you need that one shot, because that's the only shot you're getting there. We only got one limo. So, and then you got the stunt people in one car, you got stunt people in the other car. And then after that goes in, you got someone jumping in the water in the stunts. And then later on, when they're going through the car, they're in a water tank on set. You got to learn how to breathe while you're underneath the water. You got to learn how to move around. And hey, by the way, you need to act out the scene while you're doing all that. And so there's so much technical stuff going on in there. And when you're driving off a bridge and it's one shot, you better not be the one person that messes that up. So you got to be on your P's and Q's on that one.
That's crazy. Well, I know, being in so many different, movies and TV shows and so forth, do you have a favorite memory of, I'm sure you have many, but what's your favorite memory from being on set for any of these?
I've been fortunate enough to work with some great people. I think the pilot of Eastbound and Down was really cool. We had Brooke Shields come on set, and Will Ferrell, and Danny McBride really wasn't that big yet, so it was kind of cool to see him before he got really big. So that was awesome, and it was HBO, so that was really cool. But I would say my best experience was meeting Ben Stiller. I worked with him twice. I worked with him in a movie, and I got to be a winged monkey in the movie, so I got a cool huge wing costume in my house. He was so sincere and nice. And I had met him a couple of years later, and he knew exactly, like he knew, hey, and then he remembered that I met him. And obviously I'm not important enough to remember, but Ben Stiller knew up the top of his head. And that was that was just so genuine. And he's just such a kind person. So that really kind of always put the faith back into me that, these people are real, and it's really cool to work with them sometimes.
So I wanted to get back to also your acting, because I know this all started somewhere, and before you became a stuntman. So how did that? I know you acted, you were a double and so forth, but how did you? I guess what gave you the love, I guess, of acting in the first place? How did that come about?
I did a lot of stuff when I was, early teens and teenager. I did a Koosh commercial. Remember the Koosh ball?
Yeah, I do.
I just did some bit stuff, and then I did a movie called Cabin Fever, and I got to be a character called Bunny Man, and that really got my itch of acting. I really loved that, and that became an iconic character years later. And then rolled into One Tree Hill, and I was able to do stand-in, photo double stunt for Lucas Scott. Just really awesome for those years that I did that, and that just led to so many things. And I love almost the fact that I am behind the mask. I can kind of just put my whole heart on whatever I do with film. Right. I'm proud of it. I put my life on the line in some cases. I'm walking around with a limp, and I have a really bad back injury now because of that. Yeah. And I'm proud of it. So being behind that mask and being all about the art is really what it's about for me.
So when you retired, I mean, do you still get into being part of, I guess, the industry still, or is that kind of something you kind of left behind?
So I love to do Comic-Cons. I used to do Comic-Cons for many years, but ever since we had the COVID, if I want to say that, ever since we had that, kind of Comic-Con just went away. So I do Cameo, which is really great because I can engage with fans on there. But other than that, I don't. I'm into sports psychology right now, so I'm focusing on So I'm focusing on all my experience as a stuntman and moving that on to being a therapist and kind of helping professional athletes from that angle, so I can still use everything that I've learned, because film's always a part of me. It's a huge part of my life. It's hard to just walk away from that. My body says, hey, you're not doing this anymore, because I just kept getting injured. Sure. So now that I can do sports psychology, I can kind of, work with my mind and still enjoy what I did with stunts and help others. So, wow,
that's fantastic that you're a sports psychologist. We talked, I interviewed Brad Johnson, who played 17 years as a quarterback in the NFL. We got to talking about that on our show, about sports psychology, because, there's, like you said, I mean, athletes, get injured all the time. That's just got to be the most depressing thing for somebody that can't be on the field, or they have, a long process of, rehabilitation. And that's got to really play with somebody's mind, especially somebody who might be new in the field, or like a rookie, or somebody that might have been in the league for a couple of years. They worked their whole life to get there, and then they get injured. And then that, just that process of coming back, those mental things that they go through. So, talk a little bit about being a sports psychologist. I think that's important.
I think, you're absolutely right with injury, and I can go on that forever, because injury and pain tolerance is so huge, and overcompensation I'm really big on, and kind of make sure you not do that, because it's just a trail of injuries. But I think when we're dealing with, like, if you mentioned Brad Johnson, right?
Yeah.
He had a very long, successful career, but maybe someone didn't have such as long a career. If they played 5 years in the NFL, they didn't just play those 5 years in the NFL. They started when they were 5, and they've been elites at every level that they've been, and they've sacrificed all kinds of parts of life to be so great at football, and it's gone. You don't get to retire. There's no party. You're just cut, and no one wants you anymore. And what do you do at that moment when your whole life is football? And now you have to repair relationships maybe that you weren't that close to. And what do you do with life? How do I make a living? That is huge. And now you don't have the option to do something that you've loved your entire life. Luckily, I had a great long career in stunts, which I was doing it. My body said no, and that's cool. I'm going to move on to something else. And I am fulfilled in that aspect. But a lot of people aren't, and they don't know what to do. My body told me retire. So to have someone who has that experience and also the knowledge of psychology to be able to, kind of work with them. And we do see a lot of athletes coming out, a lot of male athletes coming out. A good thing that came out of COVID was a lot of, computers and interaction with, you can have therapy at home through the computer, a lot of that stuff. And that's great. And you can have that. So it's spoken about a lot now with sports psychology, and a lot of athletes are reaching out. So I think it's a growing field, but it's definitely needed.
Getting into advice, one of the things like I like to do is ask our guests to give our listeners advice on, like if they're going to get into stunt work or even acting, what kind of advice would you give from all your years in the industry? I mean, obviously we could probably, I guess, kind of turn the clock back a little bit and see, I would have done this differently or that differently. I mean, what kind of advice can you give to our listeners?
I think a lot of people that want to get into stunts, or let's just focus on acting, because that's, easily obtainable, or maybe more people are doing that. But you have to have content. You have to have proof of work. So a lot of people are sitting there going, I want this one job. I want to do this one thing, and I'm waiting for it to happen. We need to get it out there and do some independent work. And I've done a lot of independent work myself. If you don't have people to shoot the movies for you, get out there and do it yourself, and you will learn. And once you do that, you will learn how to direct, you'll learn how to light, you'll learn how to sound, and you'll learn all that stuff. And that's only going to help you. That's only going to help you. So each independent project that you do, not only are you doing your own stunts, or if that's what you want to do, but you're learning all these other aspects of film, and that's only going to benefit you. And have that knowledge on set is going to be great. So the cautionary tale to that is, be very careful with what you select if you're doing other people's work. Make sure you're going to want to be seen in this in 10 years. You're going to be proud of it. If you're doing stunts, please be safe. Don't do anything crazy. If you don't have the crew members and the safety team around you, you don't want that. It's not worth it. But yeah, I love independent work. Get out there, get that content. You need content. You need proof of work. That's it. I mean, you have to have content to show, hey, this is what I'm capable of. This is my acting skills. And if you're a beginner at acting, the more you do work, the better you get. And then when you get that audition, you get that role, boom, you've already had 5 films that you've already done, and you know how to act.
Do you recommend as a stuntman to get an agent or a manager? Is that something that's necessary?
Starting out, no. I think, with extra work, and a lot of people get into that, or what they would call cattle calls sometimes, and doing that, I think it's good to get around that, doing it. You don't want to do it too much. You don't want to be known as the extra, but get around and see what's going on with the film set and get comfortable with it. But I wouldn't worry about an agent. I would worry about getting your content. You don't want to, because if you don't have any content, you're getting an agent. I mean, you don't have anything to show, whether you have an agent or not. No one's going to take you seriously. And even if they do get you in that audition, you don't know what to do because you haven't done it. So you need to do your stuff, and then roll into extra work, do auditions, whatever you can get online, whoever's doing an audition, even if it's something you don't want to do, try out for that audition and practice, and you will get good at it. Each time you do it, each time you interview, you'll get better and better. Content, do it safely. Just get your work out there.
That makes a lot of sense. Now I understand you have some music background as well, correct?
I have music writing.
Okay, writing. Okay.
Thank you for checking that out.
Yeah, for sure. I was just going to ask you about that. So, is that another passion of yours?
It's I'm a very creative person, so I always have to have my mind in something creative. That's my outlet. I mean, creativity is my outlet, and visual and audio is definitely there. So, I've done some indie stuff, after retiring and, venturing out to music. I always have to be creating, and I have to have that outlet. That's my release. That's my happy.
I hear you. Definitely. That's great. I always ask everybody this, Preston, but I'm going to ask you as well. When it's all said and done, what do you want your legacy to be? What do you want people to think of when they think of Preston Corbell?
I want them to think every project that I've done had some fantastic stunts, had some great work done. The movie was done so well, and they don't need to know my name. They don't need to know my face, but they need to know that movie was really good because I was the guy that risked my life doing that. So whatever I do, I leave my heart on that movie as a stamp, and to leave a legacy of, now I can talk to professional athletes in sports psychology, and I'm just be really proud of what I've done. So just be very proud of the accomplishments you had in film, whether it's little now and you build it up to bigger. Just be really proud of what you've done.
Well, it's well said. I appreciate that. Well, it's been a pleasure to have you on. Like I said, I was really looking forward to this one. And, best of luck to you in your sports psychology career. Again, you nailed it as a stunt performer and an actor. So, like I said, for our listeners, just make sure you check out his work, check out his IMDb, check out his website. You're not going to be disappointed. So again, Preston, thank you for being with us.
Thank you to your audience. I really appreciate it.